Woodsy Dog here, looking for something to do while shelter in place. Today we're going to take a step outside and create a beautiful succulent driftwood garden. So follow me outside. We're going to be working in the yard. By the way, look at this cool wreath. So this I just picked up backpacking, carried it all the way in my backpack. But isn't that just gorgeous? There's so many fun and beautiful things you can do with wood. So shelter in place doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay trapped inside. This project is going to take us out into our own backyards. And it's pretty simple to do. We're going to create a piece like this. I did this one, and my daughter made this one. Beautiful and very simple. So succulents are everywhere. People grow them in their yards. Your neighbors probably have them if you don't have any. And I'm sure if you gave them a quick call or text, they'd say, sure, come take a clipping. Succulents are so easy to grow. Now, one thing I recommend is when we're making a garden like this, you really want to use a type of succulent that's going to stay small and stay low to the ground, or spread wide instead of tall. So it does make your options a little bit more limited, but we're still going to look at the common succulents that we find in our yard or in neighbors' yards, with permission of course, and see what we can do. When I see something this large and spread out, I know this is not the type of succulent I want. Something like this is just going to take over my entire project eventually. So depending where you're going to place your succulent piece, sometimes it is okay to have some that grow large. So this piece of wood here is sitting in my garden, and here I have this one that's going to grow up. It's going to grow pretty big, and that's perfectly fine for this. This piece as well. So I have this piece of wood standing here, and this succulent is reaching out from it. See how cool that is? And that's okay that this one's very large like that. That's what I wanted. This is the piece of wood I found. In order for this one to work, it's kind of cool, but in order for it to work, I'm going to have to bury two ends in the ground so it's standing up kind of like a table. So one thing I always do before putting on garden gloves, mine are stored in the garage. They may be safe, but I don't know. They've been sitting in there. I always pinch the fingers, kind of give them a squeeze. This goes with my woodworking gloves too, just to make sure that nothing crawls in there, especially like a black widow. I want it dead. I think I would feel it probably while I'm squeezing. But I want it dead before I put my hand in here, that's for sure. Okay, so typically what I would do once I have my piece of wood is I would use something called sphagnum moss. And what that is, it's just very fibrous natural moss. It has like these thin sticks in it. You can kind of mold around a piece of a plant. It really keeps things in place, keeps the soil in place. But now I know that we are in shelter in place, and not everyone happens to have this handy dandy sphagnum moss around the house. So we're going to compromise. One idea would be to use chicken wire. You can attach chicken wire to the wood, kind of, if it's a flat piece of wood, you can dome the wire around, and that's going to hold the plants and hold the soil. Okay, yeah, you may not have chicken wire at home either. So, man, what can we do? So, this is for shelter in place, wooden succulent garden, improvise number 1. We're going to use yarn. What I'm going to do is make a lattice pattern with the yarn. Again, just keeping it as simple as possible, using things that we already have at home. Yarn, string, thread, fishing line, whatever you have. So I'm going to cut a piece of that. I have some thumbtacks nearby. And I'm going to start pinning the yarn, crisscrossing it over the wood and holding it in place with the thumbtack. Maybe go in a little bit deeper on areas. Okay, that should work. One thing I suggest is you place your thumbtacks in an area that's going to be covered by soil, so you're not going to see it. So the reason I use that lattice network of yarn is so every time I water this succulent plant, the soil doesn't just wash away. Also, I live in a very windy area, which the wind could just blow it away and ruin everything. So this is just going to hold everything in place. Next step, let's go find some succulents. So I have a lot in my own garden. I'm just going to use what I have. But these little guys here, I'll take a piece of that. Perfect and adorable. Here's some over here with some pink on it. Just take one little piece. That's it. Beautiful. Look how cute they are. So these guys, these are fun. This type of succulent here. So when they grow, they stay slender and tall. So yeah, they're perfect. Take one of those. I love succulents that hang. They're really cool. I'm going to take a piece of this, which is fine because it's going to continue to grow there. Oh look, here's a piece on the ground. I'll borrow that too. It'll probably still work. So I'll take that. Let me take a piece of this. So these are more, they're larger, like teardrop, and these are more just round, so I'll take a piece of that. It's a little different. How about some of that? That's beautiful. And I love these. Look at that hanging down. Thank you, you're coming with me. See what else I have. Over here I have this guy that likes to hang down. Yeah, take a piece of that. Here's another example of one I did. Look at that cute orange thing hanging down. Okay, I know I used the moss in mine, and I'm doing this as a shelter in place using whatever you can find. So I just want to show you this hydrangea bush. Yesterday I made some enchanted forest headpiece, and I took some of these dead dried flowers and added them to the headpiece. It was really pretty and really cool. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. Really no different than the moss. You can just break this apart and embed that in your soil, and it's going to really stabilize it. So this is just one example. If I walked around the yard, I could point out several things that could be used. Okay, I have my collection of plants. Now I'm ready to plant them. So I'm just going to start loading this with some soil. So I'm using the sphagnum moss because I have it. But like I said, you can use any little twigs that you find around the garden and just put them in there. All it needs is some kind of support. Once I have everything placed where I like it, now I can pack some more soil around it. And I use that time to really mold the plants where I want it to be. Pressing into the soil, holding it in place. Here's a piece that I don't like. So this is where, you can take each individual piece and arrange them how you want. Last step is to decorate it if you want. Now I happen to have these little rocks already at home, but pebbles are everywhere. You can find them. You can use pebbles, you can leave it as is, you can find moss, anything you want. But I'm just going to throw these in there, and the reason I do also, not only does it look pretty, but it also helps hold the soil in place. And I think in this area where I live, with all the wind and everything, that's important to do. I'm not near anyone at all, so what a great way to spend my shelter in place. Also, this piece of wood is really amazing. I did get this piece to make a wood project, which also would have been really cool, but hey, I love this just as much. And here's the final product. I absolutely love it. It's precious. I'm working outside, the birds are chirping, and what can be better than that?